Hello and welcome to episode 72 of the Giddy Knits podcast. I am, as always, Helen, and I am coming to you, as always, from Dundee in Scotland, where I live with my husband Tom and my two boys, Arthur, who is 6, and Jasper, who is 3. For those of you that don't know, although I'm sure by now most of you do, I am the dyer behind Giddy Yarns, and this is my crafty knitting podcast where I talk about kind of all the crafts that I'm working on, mostly knitting, occasionally a bit of crochet, and occasionally a couple of other little bits pop in. So what have I got to say? Show notes, as always, for the episode can be found down below the video in the drop down thingy, as well as hopefully links to most of the things that I talk about. You should have seen a screen that comes up at the beginning, which lets you know kind of where you can find me elsewhere on the internet, where you can get in touch with me and that kind of thing. Yeah, feel free to get in touch. I like hearing from you. I like getting to know people that watch, so feel free. Right, what have I got for you today? I'm going to do things slightly differently today, but we'll start off as always with a little bit of kind of admin-y kind of stuff because we've got some knit-alongs to talk about, and I have got some knit-along prizes to announce as well. I've then got one kind of finished object to share with you and a little bit of chat around that, and then I'm going to do a bit of a whip parade, I'm kind of calling it. I've pulled out all of my works in progress that are currently on the needles, apart from blankets, because blankets don't count as whips. I thought I would just go through them, whether I've worked on them this week or not worked on them this week, because there's a few that you haven't seen for quite a while. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then I've also pulled out, in the process of finding all my works in progress, I've also found a load of projects that are in bags waiting to be started that I haven't started. So I thought I would share some of those as well as kind of potential projects. And then I'll finish off with a tiny bit of shop news. I've not got a lot to say in shop news, but just a little bit right at the end. Right, so let's get straight into it with the admin-y stuff. Knit along, make along wise, we have got 2 make alongs running and one that has just finished. So currently running, we've got the Giddy Yarns make along, which is my ongoing make along, specifically for my yarn. So as long as your project uses at least 50% Giddy Yarns, so if you're doing a 2-colour shawl and Giddy Yarns is one of the colours, then that's fine. As long as it uses 50% roughly Giddy Yarns, then it counts. And yeah, just pop it in. It's ongoing and I'm doing quarterly prize draws, so the next prize draw for that one will be at the end of September, and it is any finished object, as long as it's been finished this year, then that's absolutely fine, as long as you haven't entered it into previous quarters. Does that make sense? Yeah, anyway. And then we also have the Halloween make along, which is running from the beginning of September right through until the 31st of October. Although, to be honest, it's probably going to run until the 1st of November. I'll give you that whole of Halloween day to get your finished objects in there. And that's basically any project that you can link in some way to horror or Halloween, or anything supernatural. So witches, wizards, vampires, magic, anything supernatural that would fit within that kind of Halloween kind of horror supernatural genre, that works. And as usual, tenuous links are completely appropriate, as long as you explain to me why the link is there with Halloween. Obviously sometimes it's obvious, but occasionally I need a bit of explanation. So yeah, they are running both in the Ravelry Group, which again will all be linked down below, along with the details of the make-alongs, and also we have hashtags for Instagram, in case you are having accessibility issues accessing Ravelry, but all those details should be down below in the show notes. And the summer holidays make along finished this week, so I have closed the thread this morning. I actually gave you an extra week, but I've closed the thread this morning and I have drawn prizes. There were 92 entries in the Ravelry group plus one non-duplicate entry on Instagram. There were a few more people that had used the FO hashtag, but they were duplicate entries. They'd already entered in the Ravelry group, so I didn't enter them twice, if that makes sense. So basically that was 93 entries. So the way I've done it is, what I basically did is I created an imaginary extra post on Ravelry. So there were 93 posts in the Ravelry finished objects thread, my post being number 1, and then 92 entries, if that makes sense. So I basically just added an imaginary 94th post. So I drew with the random number generator, I drew between 2 and 94 instead of 2 and 93. And 94 being the person that posted on Instagram. So I hope that works out. Using a random number generator, that should be fair. Although it does sometimes feel like the last and first posts don't get entered. Although actually, the first post won a prize this time, so it does happen. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Right, so I drew 5 winners. We have got 3 physical prizes and 2 pattern prizes up for grabs, which I talked about on the last episode. So let me just run through the prize, the people that have won prizes and what they've won. I will try and pop the names on the screen as well, because obviously Ravelry names are not always the easiest to pronounce. But the first winner was post number 38, and that was Jennifer, who is Noirem as your Instagram, not your Instagram, your Ravelry thing. I'll put it on the screen. And you have won the sock blank. So this was the one I dyed during August vlogs. So this will be coming to you. Anyone that wins a physical prize, if you can get in touch with me, in fact, if anyone that wins a prize, if you can get in touch with me, you can do that via Ravelry, you can do that via email, you can do that via Instagram, all of which should be on that screen at the beginning, and also I think in the drop down box down below. If you've won a physical prize, obviously I need your address. If you've won a pattern prize, then I will need your Ravelry name. And actually the people that won pattern prizes posted on Ravelry, so you're obviously okay using Ravelry. Yeah, okay, so congratulations, Jennifer, that was your prize. The second prize is this bunch of minis. These are from my 1950s Nostalgia Club. And the winner of these was post number 2, who was the first entry, and that was Kristen, who is CTAP on Ravelry. So congratulations for that. And again, get in touch and I will get that out to you. And then the third prize is this skein here, which again, it's from my 1950s Nostalgia Club, and this was the main colourway, so this is the rock and roll colourway. And I forgot to mention on last week that this is on a DK base. This is on my 100% merino DK weight base. And the winner of that one was post number 66, and that was Anne, who is Tuckadori, and she's actually the designer who has donated the pattern prizes. So that's always really nice. So yeah, get in touch. I know you've moved house, so double send me your address so that I know. So that I know I don't send it to the wrong house. So congratulations again. And then I've got 2 people who have won pattern prizes. I will pop the pattern up on the screen. It is the Gentle Wave socks, designed by Anne, who is Thistle Glen Designs. And yeah, that's the prize. So absolutely gorgeous pair of socks. And the first winner of the prize was post number 27, and that is Sarah, who is Little Angels G2. I don't quite know how I'm supposed to say that, but anyway, I will pop it on the screen. So congratulations, and let me know that you've seen this, but I will drop Anne a note with the Ravelry names of the winners so that she can gift you the prizes. And then the final pattern prize winner is post number 85, who was Kate, who is Smiley Ayama. Ravelry names are always a nightmare to say. Yeah, so again, get in touch with me. All the Ravelry names should have been on the screen, so the fact that I have no idea how to say half of them shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, get in touch and let me know that you've seen this, and I will get Anne to send out the pattern prizes. So there we go. Thank you so much to everyone that joined in. I mean, 93 entries is pretty spectacular, and there were some really amazing projects. Some of you are absolutely cranking out the garments, which puts me to shame because I am so bad at garment knitting. But yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for taking part, and I look forward to the end of October when I can do the same again for the Halloween make along. Right, let me move these prizes before I lose them. Not that I've got anywhere to put them. So I've got kind of a finished object to share with you this week. I say kind of a finished object because it feels like a cheating finished object. I have finished this pair of socks. The tubes were cranked on the sock machine using my 60 stitch cylinder, and I'm going to have to start sounding like Amy of the Stranded podcast, who always has to say what her sock machine is. For those of you that don't know, I have a 3D printed sock machine from Ashcroft Makers, who are a Scottish company, and I will pop a card up actually on the screen for one of the August vlogs where you can kind of see a bit more detail about my sock machine. And I finished these socks. Now these actually fit me, and if you've been following along with my sock machine dramas, the first pair of socks that I knit on the sock machine, which are these ones here, were too tight for my foot. But these actually fit me even though I used the same cylinder. So I'm not sure if it's just because maybe the yarn was a bit thinner or I got the tension a little bit better. I'm not sure. But I finished a pair of socks. So as I said, the tube was cranked. I hand knit the toes and the heels, and I hand knit the cuffs as well. I used I don't know what it's called, but I used just a standard, like a stretchy bind off. You know, the one where you you kind of knit two together for the knits and you purl two together for the pearls, but do you do it through the back loop on the other needle? I don't really know. Basically, you knit 2 stitches and then you knit those 2 stitches together through the back loop, I think. I can't remember. But it does create a little bit of a wibbly cast off, but it is super stretchy, and that actually fits. I've got quite chunky calf muscles. So my legs I struggled with like other stretchy bind offs, but this gives me enough stretch for my leg. So yeah, that's quite good. And I used the umbrella heel pattern again from Kay Jones at the Bakery Bears. I really like that heel pattern for an afterthought heel. It seems to have a little bit more space in it, a little bit more room, and it's also really easy and fun to knit. So I think that might be my go-to afterthought heel pattern. But yeah, that is one finished pair of socks. I did experiment a little bit with the 72 stitch cylinder. So I've got 2 cylinders for my sock machine. I've got a 60 stitch one, which is the one you'll have seen in the August vlog videos. And then I've also got a 72 stitch, which arrived recently. And I have experimented a little bit with the 72 stitch cylinder, but I do need to have a little play with tension. I cranked this tube here, which is, this is an ancient Giddy Yarns colourway. This is a colourway right from the beginning that I just had lying around. I'm not even 100% sure why I saved it. I think maybe it was one that just didn't sell, and I just took it out of the shop at some point. But this was a Halloween one. This was called Wicked Witch. But it's quite good fun. And yeah, I cranked that tube, but they do look quite wide, and I think that's probably just a tension thing. I think I need to work out how to tighten up the tension and stuff like that. I'm going to put some heels, I'm going to put some cuffs and heels on one of these, and then I'm going to take it with me when I go in October. We're going on holiday, me and the boys anyway. Tom's got to work still, are going and staying in a cottage with my parents in the Lake District. So I'm going to take it down then and see if they fit my dad, and see if I can get a decent fit, a decent size, work out, oh goodness, can't talk. See if I can work out what size I need to knit for my dad's foot. If I take a tube with a heel and a cuff in, then I can get him to try it on, and then I can work out exactly where the toe needs to go. And then I can use that sock as a basis for other socks, if that makes sense. So I did that one. And then I also did this one as well, and this knit up really fun. This is one of those colourways that I've had lying around in my stash. I received it in a swap quite a while ago, It is from a Swedish dyer. I'm not 100% sure the name of the dyer or anything like that, but it is from a Swedish dyer, and it was one of those colourways that in the skein it didn't really appeal to me. It wasn't really my colours, and it just kind of sat in the stash, and I thought maybe at some point I'll knit socks for Tom out of it. And yeah, but actually now that I've cranked it up, I really like how this is knit up. So again, I'm probably going to do similar with this, but I do think at the moment, with the tension how it is, it might be a little bit big for Tom. They might fit my dad though, but we will see. Otherwise, I might just use the 70 stitch cylinder to make bed socks. You know, comfy, I don't know. Requires a little bit of playing to get the tension right, to get a decent fit. That's what I'm trying to say. Right, so moving on then, that was kind of my FO. So let's move in to the whip parade. Okay, so I have pulled out all of my works in progress, which aren't actually as many as I thought there were, because I finished a few things recently. So I've got 5 works in progress that aren't blankets. As I said, blankets don't count. So let's have a little look. This one, living in my lovely bag from the Little Grey Girl. A lot of my bags are from Jem, the Little Grey Girl. She's a good friend. So yeah, not only do I love her bags and would recommend her bags anyway, she's also a good friend. So I like to shop with friends. Right, what was I going to say? This is my campsite cardie, which I haven't put much work on since I last shared it with you, as you will see. But because I haven't shared it with you for so long, I really wanted to get it back out and see if it reinvigorates me. I'm actually halfway through a row as well, it seems, which is a little bit of a pain. So this is the campsite cardie. And as you can see, I've just started the patterning on it. I think I've moved in now, or I'm ready to move into the second set of eyelets, which are slightly closer together. And it is gorgeous. It looks really crumpled, doesn't it? The yarn I'm using is an Eden Cottage Yarns, and it's their BFL silk base, which is 85% BFL, 15% silk, and I'm knitting it in the Black Tulip colourway. That's the label there. It's their DK weight, it's their Milburn DK, and the colourway is Black Tulip. I'm really enjoying the yarn. It's going to be a gorgeous cardigan. I just need to crack on with it. But now I've got my test knit off the needles, I'm hoping I might find some more time for things like that. This week I've been winding stripes all week, which obviously means that during my work days I don't get a lot of time to do anything else. But I've got a week coming up, well, probably a couple of weeks coming up actually, where I'm going to be dyeing advents, which means that in between dye batches, because obviously you put the dye on and you have to leave it for a certain time before you can do the next kind of thing to it, it does mean that hopefully a few days I will just be able to sit and knit in between dye batches. So hopefully I might get a little bit more put on this. And then what else? Things you've seen a bit more recently. I'll just make sure I'm putting the patterns and everything back in there before I lose everything. My cream tea socks, living in this lovely bag from Debbie at Down Sheepy Lane. I'm really enjoying this bag. I love that it's got the little pockets on the inside, on the outside as well. I keep the little yarn label in there. As you saw last week, I think, I have finished one sock. And I have actually cast on the second sock, but as you can see, I've not done a lot. I've knit the cuff and the first repeat of the second sock. So I've started it, which is good because this is now ready to pick up. I think because I hadn't cast it on, I don't know how do other people feel about rib. I always struggle with knitting the rib of a sock. So sometimes when I've done, I think that's where it comes in with single sock syndrome, doesn't it? You knit the first one and you're quite happy to get through the rib of the first sock because you're excited about the sock. And then you finish the first one and then you've got to start the second one, which means you've got to cast it on all over again and get through that rib again. And for some reason, when I knit socks separately, so one after the other, that can be quite a challenge sometimes. If I'm knitting them concurrently, it's great because I have to get, okay, I've got to do 2 ribs, but once those ribs are done, that's it. So I kind of wish I'd knit these concurrently, but I've got it cast on now, so it's just the pattern, which is enjoyable. And the yarn for this one is, it's also yarn from Debbie at Down Sheepy Lane. And it was in their botanical, oops, I've dropped it. In her Botanical Garden Lilac colourway, which was a colourway that matched the bag and came with the bag. And they do match really, really nicely. Right, let me tuck that one away then. So that is sock number 1 on my needles. And then I also have another pair of socks on my needles, living in another little grey girl bag. And that is my birthday socks, which I am knitting out of a number of Kate Celine minis. So I think last time I showed you these, I had just finished both legs. I'm knitting these concurrently. As you can see, I am knitting them concurrently. And I think last time I showed you, I had finished the legs on both of them. I haven't put the heels in on both of them. And I've also finished the first colour for the foot on this sock. So I just need to add the yarn, which is living somewhere. Where is it? Come here. There it is. This one here, this mini, which will go in for that sock. So it shouldn't be too bad. I've worked it out, and I'm doing 4 colours down the foot, and then the toe and the heel are going to be, so the heel, the cuff and the heel and the toe are all in the same mini skein, because I actually got 2 of those in the set that I bought. And then I am using the rest of the minis, the other 8 minis, to do the leg and the foot. And I'm doing 16 rows of each mini, which means that I've got 64 rows for the leg, and then I'll have 64 rows for the foot. And I normally do 65 rows for a foot of a sock. So I think that 1 row isn't going to make a big difference. And I can always just add, a row on the toe, if that makes sense, before I do the first decreases. So they are coming along as well. I've picked those up a little bit this week. Now I finished my stripy socks last week, and these are getting a little bit more love. The other thing that I've picked up this week and worked quite a lot on is my Vertices Unite, which again, you haven't seen this for a long while. So this is a pattern by Stephen West, and it uses 5 colours of yarn. I'm just gonna, there we go. So this is the pattern. It uses 5 colours of yarn, and I shared right at the beginning all my colours with you, and I'll share them again now quickly. So I am using, this is a colourway from Suburban Stitcher called Jelly of the Month. This is Grapple from Nora George Yarns. And then these 3 are all from Debbie at Down Sheepy Lane. This is Hold On Tight, which is one of her Tim Burton colourways from Miss Peregrine's School for Peculiar Children. This is her Bramble colourway. And then this one is her Geralt or Geralt of Rivia colourway, one of her Witcher colourways. So they are all the yarns that I am using, those 5. And I am working on the 3rd section of the pattern, which for me uses the Grapple colourway. Got yarn everywhere now. And here we go. Look, I've made quite a dent on that section. Last time I shared this with you, I was where that little heart stitch marker is. I'd literally just started this section and I'd not done much to it at all. But I finished the kind of picking up both sides bit of this section now. If you can see, I'm now kind of working, there's an edge there now rather than picking up along that bit. I'm still picking up along this side, but that is coming along really well. And there's kind of the whole thing at the moment. It's got waste yarn holding these stitches, so I can't quite stretch it out. It's going to be gorgeous, big and cozy. And this section here used the Bramble and the Suburban Stitcher, the Jelly of the Month. And then this section here striped the Geralt of Rivia and the Hold On Tight colourway. And then this section is just the Grapple colourway on its own. But I'm really, really enjoying it, and I just need to, as I keep saying, I just need to find time. So hopefully again this week, while I'm doing Advents, I'll get a little bit of time to work on some of these projects that haven't seen a lot of love recently. And then we've got one more work in progress that I'm going to share. It's the Scrappy project, which is kind of a long-term project that I don't know whether when I'll ever finish it. And I don't really mind, actually, because it's just fun and enjoyable, and I've not worked on it in absolutely ages. As you can see, obviously last time I shared it with you, I was where the stitch marker is, so I've not worked on it at all. But this is my little scrappy scarf. This pattern is the Find Your Own Direction pattern, which is by Erin of Henny Penny Makes. And it is so much fun. Each section uses all of kind of 2 to 3 grams of yarn. And I've just got a bag with lots of teeny tiny little scraps in. This tends to be what my scraps go into before they then go into a magic knot ball. So anything that's left from this goes into this, and then anything that's left from that will get added onto a magic knot ball. But it's a really fun pattern, and I haven't worked on it in ages, and I really need to pick it back up again. I love scrappy projects. I love playing with the colours and just adding all the kind of, I don't know, they're just more creative somehow, aren't they, playing with all the colours. But that is everything that's on my needles, apart from blankets, of which I have a few. But we're at the kind of 27 minutes, and I was going to say I'll keep this a bit short, but I won't, will I? Maybe today will be a little bit longer. But I wanted to share a few things that I also found waiting in project bags. Does anyone else do this? Cake up yarn, get it ready to go, put it in a project bag, and then kind of forget about it or not get around to casting it on. I never used to do it, but I seem to have developed a bad habit. So the first thing I found, which has been caked up and ready to go for absolutely ages, is living in this bag here. And it is, yarn is from Down Sheepy Lane. It's gorgeous, gorgeous yarn from Debbie. I've forgotten, actually, whether it had a name. I can't remember, and I don't know. Oh, do I have that? No, I don't have the things in here. But it was a set that was designed specifically to go with this pattern. So the pattern is the Linus shawl. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, especially with my shaky hands. The pattern is the Linus shawl by Therese of Brixton Pearl. And I bought the yarn in the pattern, the colours that the pattern was knit in. So those colours that the pattern is knit in. And then I've not got round to casting it on, but it uses 100 gram skein, and then there are 5 10-gram mini skeins as well, all looking a little bit of a mess because they've been in a bag for so long. And I just need to get on with it, don't I? I think the problem is I have this thing about having too many projects on the needles. So if I've got a shawl on the needles already, the idea of casting on a second shawl is kind of against my rules somehow. So I ended up like caking this on and then casting on something else, and then I can't cast this on because I've already got a shawl on the needles. And I don't know, maybe I just need to get over that and just accept that I'm going to have 2 shawls on the needles and actually get this cast on, and then it won't just be sitting in a bag doing nothing. I don't know. So that is definitely still a shawl that I really want to knit, and living in a bag ready to be knit. Then one that I've only just put in a bag because why not? Talking of Halloween earlier, this is a lovely Halloween bag that I made for myself out of some random fat quarters. And the only thing living in here is a sock blank, and this is one of my Goosebumps sock blanks, ready to be cast on to be turned into my Halloween socks this year. So that will be cast on relatively soon. I'm thinking I might try and finish my birthday socks first before I get this cast on, just so that I don't end up with 3 pairs of socks on the needles again. But imminent cast on, hopefully. And then I've got a couple of other random things. Living in this lovely bag, which really needs to be used now because it is very Halloween-y. It's kind of Halloween or Christmas, isn't it? It's Nightmare Before Christmas bag. This is from Jessie at Jessie Marie Makes. In fact, both of the next two bags are. And this is some Mistral. So this was ripped out from my Vertices, no, my Verso hat. Knew it began with a V. And I really want to do something else with these. So I'm trying to decide whether I want to turn this into a hat or whether I want to turn this into a pair of mitts. I was looking at the counterbalance mitts, which are ones with a cable up them. But then I also wonder whether maybe a cabley hat would be quite good in it. I don't know. So I still need to work out a pattern for that one. But it desperately needs to become something, and quite soon. I kind of want to knit some teacher gifts this year. Jasper's just started nursery, as you'll know, and his nursery teacher is lovely, and I think she would really appreciate something knitted as a gift. So I'm wondering whether to make her some kind of little mitts or something, and also maybe Arthur's teachers. One of his teachers is the same teacher from last year. And then his other teacher is new, but I've not really met her properly because we're not allowed to go into the school. He seems to like her though, so it's fine. So yeah, I kind of think maybe, I don't know whether to knit hats or whether to knit mitts. Socks are a no-go because I don't know feet sizes. But I could knit some little fingerless mitts or something like that as a little teacher gift, couldn't I? So maybe one of those, I don't know. And then also in a bag from Jessie Marie Makes, which she very kindly gifted me. I love this fabric. Look at this wonderful Hungry Caterpillar bag. How brilliant is that? Is another skein of yarn that I caked up ages and ages ago. This is in my Serenity colourway. I've lost the recipe for this colourway. I really don't know what I've done with it. Somebody ordered a skein the other day, and it turned out that I didn't have the base that they'd ordered it in stock. I try very hard to keep on top of my stock and make sure that I've got the right things in stock, but every so often, very occasionally, I will go to pack an order and I will discover that actually the thing that's been ordered I don't have in stock. And normally it's not a big issue because if I've got the time I could literally just dye up another batch and it's not a problem. And that was what I was going to do with this. I was going to dye up another batch and send one out. And could I find the recipe anywhere? No. I've completely lost the recipe for this colourway, which is such a shame because I really, really like it. Yeah, I really like it. So at some point, I think I might have to do a little bit of playing and see if I can recreate it. And then I guess it just means that future batches might be slightly different, but hopefully I can recreate it because it is really fun. But these are going to become a pair of, oh, I've forgotten how it's pronounced. Is it the Aigwin mitts? It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It'll be linked in the show notes. But it's a fun little cabled mitten pattern, again with fingering weight. So I might be able to get a couple of pairs actually out of this skein of yarn. So again, I might knit a pair for me and maybe a pair as a teacher's gift. So yeah, that's what that one is going to become. And then the last thing kind of waiting to be cast on is a Christmassy kind of thing. And I love this bag. If you watched my Vlogmas last year, this bag came from Ellie at Craft House Magic. She made these wonderful stocking bags last year with a brilliant bell on the zip. Just lots of fun. And living in here are lots and lots and lots and lots of minis, or scraps really. I don't know how well I'll be able to show you, but you can kind of see in here. And this is the scraps and the leftovers from my Spectrum Fibres advent calendar from last year. If you've watched for a while and you've been following along, last year I knit the Dust of Snow wrap using the Spectrum Fibres advent calendar, and I actually, amazingly, I knit it throughout advent and I kept up with it throughout advent. And I love it. It is one of the most amazing things I've ever knit. It's one of my favourite knits. I love the colours. I love it. I love the shape of it. I just love wearing it. I can't wait until it's warm enough that I can kind of wear it again. But I kept all of the scraps, lots and lots of them. So there's 24 little balls in here, with the intention of making a kind of a Christmas garland. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each of these, and my plan is to crochet up some little stars and join them together to create some, like a garland. I made a couple of little ones last year. In fact, we've got one on our window at the beginning of lockdown and all the kind of coronavirus chaos. I made a rainbow garland, crocheted some stars and made a rainbow garland that just hangs in our window at the moment. And I'm going to do similar, but with lots and lots of stars. And I'm kind of thinking that what would be really nice is maybe to be able to put it on our Christmas tree instead of tinsel. Have like crocheted tinsel, I guess, to some extent. So I'm going to crochet stars. I might even do, I don't know, I might even see whether I could do 2 or 3 of each colour and then join them all together. It should be a relatively quick project because the stars themselves don't take a lot of time to make. But that is my plan. I wanted to get it done this year, but I haven't. Maybe if I leave this out somewhere and just sort of make a start on crocheting up the stars, I might get it done. I don't know. But yeah, there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. A little bit different with my kind of bits and pieces living in bags. But I don't know if anyone else does the same. But now I'm kind of inspired to knit all of those. The other thing I really want to knit is the new Stephen West Mystery Knit Along. Has anybody else seen it? The kits, I think, are launching today. I won't be buying a kit, to be fair. I'm planning to knit it as a sample. So I think I'm going to grab some yarn from the shop to knit it with. I'm leaning towards Ashes and a couple of other colourways. So now I'm wondering if I could grab the colourways and show you. No, not really. I'm looking at where they all are. I can't. Anyway, I will show you those when I cast it on, obviously. I think it launches in October. I don't know the exact start date yet. It's called Slipstravaganza. But I knit last year's one as the Mystery Knit Along. I knit the Starflake and I really, really enjoyed it. I was a little bit hesitant again this year because it uses 5 skeins of yarn, which is a lot of yarn. But it, yeah, I'm lucky enough that I can take yarn from the shop. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to turn it into a fun sample. So I'm going to try and pick some regular colourways so that it, yeah. But anyway, I'm rambling about, I'm rambling now, aren't I? Right, Mystery Knit Along, I'm excited about that. Is anyone else thinking of doing the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along? If you are, do you fancy another little Ravelry thread like we did for the Mystery Gnome Knit Along? So spoilers are allowed, we can just share our progress and just kind of chatter. I really enjoyed that with the Gnome Knit Along. So if you are thinking of joining it in the Stephen West Knit Along and you fancy that, then let me know. I often find the big threads, like in the Imagine Landscape Mystery Gnome Knit Along, those big threads I find really overwhelming, and I find that I can't really post in them too much. So I really enjoyed kind of having our own little knit along thread for that one. Obviously I won't run it as a knit along, it will literally just be a place for us to kind of chat in a smaller environment than some of the big threads and stuff like that. Anyway, right, last little bit is a tiny bit of shop news to finish off. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. First of all, thank you to everyone that shopped my Perth update over the weekend. My next job, once I've finished recording this, is to pack all your orders so that I can get them in the post tomorrow. There is still plenty left in stock. The stripes went quite quickly, but I have still got some Storm's End. There is still some Storm's End on the BFL nylon, which is what this is, and also just on my normal merino nylon. Everything else, there is still, I think, a little bit of everything, including Winnie the Pooh minis and Cornwall minis and the BFL silk, gorgeous BFL silk. I need a shawl, a 2 skein shawl recommendation for BFL Silk. I want to knit a sample. And there's still plenty of Halloween stuff. There's a few sock blanks left for the Halloween as well, but not very many, so they've been really popular. So I'm hoping to order some more tomorrow and yeah, do some more sock blanks. What else? Tomorrow is the last day for the Nostalgia Club, so yeah, order that if you haven't. 1980s for September. And then that is it. So thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you all again next week with a bit more back to normal, hopefully. But we will see. Yeah, I think that's everything I've got to say. I'm sure it is. Thank you for watching. Bye.